Rick, here we go. Our topic today is if you want to go somewhere, is what you're doing taking you there? What are your thoughts?
Oh man. Okay. You know, for me, one of my biggest problems is deciding that I can't do anything new or I'm poor at doing something new. I really need to stay in a groove. And if I were to accept that as sort of the doctrine to live your life by, to live my life by, I would miss out on so many interesting things that are serendipitous, that just show up. And normally, if I'm in that groove, I don't see them, right? They pass by, just like going through a countryside that has beautiful, beautiful scenery, but you don't notice it because you're focusing on how worried you are about whether there's going to be a car that picks you up at the end of the ride, or whatever
Yeah,
your head is suffering over. So I think the first thing is that, you got to have a decision about what you want in life, right? I think you have to initially decide how you want to live and who you want to be. And that's not easy, especially after you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, because you're in that groove. So,
right.
so for me, I guess at this age, I'm trying goofy stuff that I've never tried before. And even though I'm poor at, I went go-karting
That's awesome.
last. I was on a trip and I had to do a deposition, and did the deposition. I was finished, and this is in Florida, and there was a go-kart track by the hotel, and I just parked the car and I'm in my suit and I went go-karting. And I thought, well, this is pretty weird, but I got the white hair, so nobody gives a damn, right? I didn't have to impress any girls. I didn't have to look cool. I didn't have to do all of the usual shtick that I have to do when I'm trying to make an impression on somebody. I actually never have to do any of that anyway, but I'm learning. So anyway, that's an example of just, I think, being open and ready to do stuff that's completely unpredictable and completely satisfying too. I had a great time. That to me was like an enema. Going go-karting in my business suit was like an enema. It got rid of a lot of stuff that I didn't need. And part of it had to do with my self-image. Part of it had to do with how I wanted to make an impression on others. Part of it had to do with my being in my head so much that I just wasn't, I couldn't realize and appreciate things that were all around me, like the tires on the go-kart track. Anyway, that's an example that came to mind recently.
I love it, Rick. Yeah, for me, wanting to go somewhere, and is what I'm doing going to take me there? I can give a lot of examples. One of the things that I often see at work is that people in one group will compare their salary to another group, and it may not necessarily be apples to apples. And they're not open to, in their mind, it's apples to apples, but they're not open to hearing why it may not be apples to apples. But anyway, one of the things that I don't do, because I want to be completely fulfilled at work. I want to be happy at work. And so I know that comparison is something that can often prevent you from doing that. When you compare what other people have that you may not have at that time, it's a road that leads you to suffering. And so I don't compare what I make. I don't know what any other managers make at Mayo Clinic. I have no idea what they make. Now, if someone were to tell me like, hey, someone's doing the same job as you, then maybe I'll inquire about it. But if they come back and say, well, Keith, you can either take what we're giving you or you can move on, I'm pretty happy here. I'm able to come back to say, hey, I'm happy here. And that's what's important. When I go on the pickleball court, what I want to do is I want to have a blast out there. I don't want me having a blast to be dependent on how well my partner plays, how well I play, or whether we win or lose the game. I want to, and I have to keep that top of mind that when I go there, why are you going here? I want to be turned on throughout all of life, period. And so I go there with a completely different mindset when I hit the court. When I was growing up as a kid, as you knew, I grew up in a household with a stepfather who struggled with alcoholism and who, the way that he behaved was there was a lot of abuse. And for the longest time, for decades after leaving that home, I carried that with me. But I would tell people I want to be happy. Well, if you want to be happy, why are you still carrying that? Right. And at the time, I was so identified with it, I didn't know that it was possible to let all that go. But once I did learn that I could let it go, guess what happened? I became happy, just like that. So where I want to go is to be happy. And my job every day is to remove all the distractions, all the blockages, all the obstacles, not out there, but in here that are in the way of that. People start telling me about what other people are doing. Listen, I've been blessed with this little storefront over here. I'm just I'm just outside sweeping my little storefront, Rick. I'm not worried about what the neighbors they got. If they got lights up over there and they are, got a heated sidewalks, good for them. I'm just brushing mine. They got a person who's coming by cleaning with a blower. That's not what I can do. I'm happy for the broom. I am just staying right here because this is what brings me inner peace. This is what helps me feel alive, feel grateful. So that's where I want to be. I want to live with an open heart and I want to serve anybody in front of me, regardless of what they believe and what their path is. This is mine. And so I just encourage all our listeners that if you want to go somewhere, check to see if what you're thinking, what you're doing is taking you there. Not what anybody else is doing, what you're doing. You want to close this out, Rick?
Yeah, I can't do I can't say anything that would be more apt than what you just said. It's always a matter of what we want and who we want to be, and it's always changeable. And everything that you want in life, you can have with respect to how you want to run your life, not the possessions, not the money, but how you want to run your life. It's all up to you. And getting in the way of things are things like judging, wishing for things to be different, wanting things to be desperately in your favor and always pleasant and never difficult. And those are pitfalls.
Absolutely, Rick. I love you, Rick.
I love you, Keith. I love being on this thing. It's great, man.
Same here, Rick. Same, Rick.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so
sharing.
much. Thank you.
Adios.
Adios.